What's good? What's good? It's the one and only, but what do I know? Boxing coming back at y'all with another one, man. So I got something I want to talk about. We got Canelo in the news, but it's not really specifically. It's not specifically about Canelo, man. You know, it's a lot of it's a lot of fans that don't really understand the sport of boxing, and I'm starting to see. Well, it ain't even that I'm starting to see. I'm seeing like more of like this trend going on. Basically, you know, stating like, how do I even break this down? Like, for example, Jerron Boots Ennis just fought, right? And obviously, you know, he fought somebody that, you know, nobody really even knew or anything like that. But you see a lot of fan base, or like you see fan bases pretty much like trying to compare him to Canelo. Like, oh, you got guys like Jerron Ennis who's not fighting nobody, but Canelo is fighting the hard guys. Or you got, you know, they compare Canelo to a lot of guys. Even Terrence Crawford, but you know, I just kind of want to put a halt on that. Like, you guys got to understand what you're doing when you're comparing like resumes with Canelo and these guys that are, you know, up and coming, or even guys that are just more just aren't in a, or never was in a position that Canelo was in. You got to understand something. First and foremost, let me state this, right? Nobody has the resume of Canelo Alvarez, right? In today's boxing right now, right? And we know that Canelo has a damn good resume, you know. But the thing about it is, what people don't realize is that, you know, Canelo, he was brought up very well, and once you become the cash cow, once you get to a point to where you can pick and choose who you want to fight, it's kind of hard for you to, like, it's kind of unfair to compare that to somebody of the likes of like that's coming up, or even somebody that of the likes of like a, you know, like for an example, Jamel Charlo or something like that. Because the thing about it is this right here, Canelo, and you gotta take your hat out to Canelo and give him credit for this. He put himself in that position to where he's now able. He was the face of boxing, and he could pick and choose who he wanted to fight. Terrence Crawford didn't have that luxury. You get what I'm saying? Like, Terrence Crawford, it was a lot of politics involved with Terrence Crawford, where no politics would have been involved, or little to no politics were involved with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez at any point could fight anybody on any network. He could hop to any network. He wasn't just signed with one specific network. He wasn't just signed with one specific promoter. Well, even when once he left Golden Boy, he could do what he wanted to do. And even when he was with Golden Boy, they were willing to work with other fighters or other networks, because Canelo could do, like, you know, Canelo was that big of a draw. So Canelo had that luxury, and somebody like Terrence Crawford, pretty much he didn't have that. You know, Terrence Crawford was signed with Top Rank for a long time. The PBC fighters kind of pretty much blackballed him, so Terrence Crawford could only fight who he could fight, right? He could only fight the best names that were available that weren't on the PBC. But the problem with that at 147, that was when the welterweight division was stacked, and the PBC had those fighters locked down. At one, you know, they had Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. They had what's the dude's name? Stan Jonas. Like, they had all the top. Even Manny Pacquiao was with them, because when Manny Pacquiao was signed with Top Rank, Bob Arum, a lot of people act like they don't want to remember this, but Freddie Roach and Bob Arum insisted that they didn't want to put Manny Pacquiao in the ring with Terrence Crawford or whatnot. So Terrence Crawford had limited options at 147. You know, that's why he fought like Amir Khan, because at one point Amir Khan was with the PBC, but then he left. So Terrence Crawford ended up fighting Amir Khan. He ended up fighting Kell Brook, and Mean Machine. Like, these were the best available options that were for Terrence Crawford or whatnot. So then once Errol Spence finally, you know, and not to mention, a lot of people like to try to play this game as Terrence Crawford only fought Errol Spence after the wreck, after the car accident, but a lot of people know, the people that say that, they fail to mention that Terrence Crawford actually wanted the Errol Spence fight before the accident, but Errol Spence said it out of his mouth. He said it out of his own mouth, like, hey, let me clean up my side of the street, and then we'll come see you one night. Now, shout out to Errol Spence for honoring his word, because he did just that. But, you know, that's not on Terrence Crawford or whatnot. That's on Errol. So, you know, that happened. So then, you know, he finally gets the Errol Spence fight. Well, he got the Sean Porter fight, which it's rumored Sean Porter became a mandatory for the WBO, and so Sean Porter went to ESPN to make that fight happen or whatnot, and they made that happen or whatever. And then, you know, he did later down the line, he finally got the Errol Spence fight. Moved up to fight Israel Madrimov, then moved up to fight Canelo Alvarez. Now Terrence Crawford is just now at a point in his career where he can really pick and choose who he wants to fight, because everybody wants Terrence Crawford now. He's the biggest name. You know, everybody wants to fight Terrence Crawford. And that's kind of why I'm wondering if Terrence Crawford is kind of contemplating on whether he should retire or not, because now he's at this point where he can really just, anybody he wants to fight, he can make it happen now. You know, Floyd Mayweather, a lot of people don't really understand this because a lot of people didn't really follow boxing, but Floyd Mayweather wasn't even like that until after he fought Oscar De La Hoya. Once he beat De La Hoya, Mayweather then became the cash cow and was able to pick and choose who he wanted to fight or whatnot at any given point. You know, he had a lot of stardom before that, or star power before that, but it catapulted like right after he fought once he fought De La Hoya. That's when things like really skyrocketed for him, and so he was able to get those fights or whatnot, those big fights and pick and choose or whatever. Now, going back to what I was saying as far as like comparing the resumes, so Canelo Alvarez, or somebody like Jerron Ennis, or somebody even like Jamal Charlo, boxing is no different from any sport, right? You have, well, let me not say that. It's very different from all sports, but in the grand scheme of things, like boxing is a lot alike with other sports, right? Where you have the NBA, right? The NBA, I would say, has roughly around, 400 to 500 players. I think it's about like 400 to 500 players in the NBA, right? The NFL, you got like, I think it's like 1,600 players in the NFL, right? But start with the NBA, right? You got, we'll just say 500 players in the NBA, right? But out of those 500 players, it's only a few stars. It's only a few stars that are playing. You got like LeBron, KD, Steph Curry, you know, James Harden, you know, Jason Tatum. You got all, you know, Giannis. You know, it's roughly about like, I'll probably say like somewhere like around 50 stars or whatnot. And even out of those stars, you got like the GOATs like LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? Like Kobe Bryant, like Michael Jordan. So even out of those stars, boxing is no different. It's many fighters, but it's like only a few that are really, really known, and only like a small percentage of star power. Like the stars, I mean, should I say? Like the Canelos, you know, you got like the guys like the Errol Spence, the Terrence Crawford, the Charlos, or like even with, you know, the Andre Wards. You got those. Well, I wouldn't put those guys in the same category as Andre Ward, but I'd say like, for example, when Floyd Mayweather was on top, right? You had Floyd Mayweather, right? And then you had Manny Pacquiao. You can't say Manny Pacquiao was a bigger star than Floyd. Floyd outsold him in every pay-per-view, like in every way. So you had Floyd Mayweather, who in today's time would have been like the LeBron James. You had Manny Pacquiao, who was like the Steph Curry, right? And then you had like the Andre Wards, the Sergio Martinez, you had all these other good, the Miguel Cottos, the Shane Moses. Like you had all these other really good fighters, like great fighters, Hall of Famers, but they weren't stars like how the Mayweathers were, or like, you know, how the LeBron James was like. So you get what I'm saying? So Canelo Alvarez was the face of boxing, and at that point he could do whatever he wanted to do or whatnot. So you have up and coming fighters like Jerron Ennis, who's still building a name for himself. So I don't think it's fair to like really just say, oh, like you got Jerron Ennis, like trying to compare Jerron Ennis to Canelo Alvarez. That's absurd to me. Or, you know, and obviously you can do that with like somebody like Jamal, who is more seasoned, right? But, you know, obviously we know Canelo has the better resume, clearly a better resume than Jamal Charlo. But again, you know, Jamal Charlo doesn't have the luxury of a Canelo Alvarez. Now, I can, you know, it just is what it is. Somebody like Demetrius Andrade doesn't have that luxury of Canelo Alvarez, who could pick and choose. Demetrius Andrade, now that's no excuse for Demetrius Andrade. He pretty much messed his own self up with business moves that he made, majority on a lot of his end, you know, so he couldn't get a lot of good fights. As a matter of fact, I want to say the David Benavidez fight was the biggest fight that he's had. If he would have beat David Benavidez, is the biggest name on his resume. And, you know, that's a lot of, you know, that's due to him, the choices that he made or whatnot. But as far as you know, everybody else goes, you know, like just give him a chance. You know, Jerron Ennis, obviously this dude that we didn't that we just saw him fight. You know, this fight meant nothing. It wasn't nothing that I was excited about. I didn't even do no videos on it because I mean it wasn't gonna tell me much other than what Jerron Ennis, you know, is looking like at 154. So, you know, give him a fair check, give him a fair shake. Let's see what he does next. He's calling out Virgil Ortiz. I think I'm gonna be honest though, he has the WBA interim. I think he needs to fight the champion, the Abbas guy. Get that, you'll beat him, get that title, and you know, then fight Virgil Ortiz. I think Virgil Ortiz should have fought Bakram when he was offering the chance. And even I think he's the WBC interim champion. I think, you know, he could fight Sebastian Fundora or whatever. I think both fighters need to get a belt and make that fight happen. But if they do it next, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's still an exciting fight that I would love to see. So, you know, it is what it is. I just had to do this video just to clarify, like, you know, people, you got to give them time with their resume. They're not, you know, Canelo is who he is for a reason, you know. So just give people a chance, give people a fair shake, you know. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. But what do I know?